Hello and welcome to another episode of Your Higher Self. I'm Océane and I am a hypnotherapist and I am joined today with Neena.
Hi, I'm a mental health resource and yoga instructor.
And today we're going to talk about loneliness versus being lonely. Just because I think there is a massive difference between the two, and I feel like it's a really good topic to explore. I want to bring this up is because we had a conversation during the week about the difference between the two, because we are both quite introverted, so we absolutely love being alone, but there is a huge difference between being alone and feeling lonely. And I think the point that we had a discussion on last week, which really resonated with me, is that in a relationship, we want to find somebody that we want to be alone with. However, we've been in a relationship where we have felt alone. And that is honestly horrible, and it's your body just telling you that this relationship is not meant to be. So I think we should explore that between the two differences, because how should we know whether we are feeling lonely and it's actually just our body trying to tell us that something is off balance versus actually being happily alone? Did you just have a moment of loneliness there? Was that beautiful? Was that wonderful?
That's amazing.
So we just had a tiny moment of meditation while while trying to figure out the exact words we want to put and word this podcast on. So now that you have done this meditation, have you found the perfect words?
I think loneliness can really stem from either wanting to share something with someone or you sharing something with someone and it's not being reciprocated in the way that you thought it was, which I think makes you lonely. But being alone, I think, is more just a neutral state where you can just be relaxed and be yourself. And I think the difference between those two is you have a gut feeling of like, I wish I was doing more, or if I wish I had someone with me to do this with, or this person makes me feel very isolated, or I feel isolated from the world. And then being alone is more content, more at center with yourself. When you're alone, you can really go into self-reflection and just understand yourself more.
But no, I actually really like the fact that how you had worded that, just because I feel the exact same. So one thing that I've found is I gain so much happiness from being alone. Oh my God. Every morning I take my bicycle to the beach and I meditate on the beach, and I love, going to the gym and then doing some hands in at the park, something like that. And my morning routine is very alone, and I really don't want to have anybody interrupt that. So my mornings are always for me, and I feel so alone that it is so beautiful. And I remember when I was in Guam, so I lived in Guam and lockdown happened and no one was really allowed to leave the house. So I ended up just going to the beach every single day, and it was a private beach that I had to swim to. So I would get my little adventure pack, waterproof bag, and then I'll go for a swim to that beach where there was no one. And I did so many spiritual awakenings on that beach just by being alone. And I think being alone is so underrated, and it is beautiful. And I feel like if you really want to glow up as a human, if you want to grow into your higher self, if you want to enlighten yourself, you have to find that time to be alone, because it's when you're alone that the healing happens.
Do you think as well, because you, in the beginning, you said that we're introverted. Yes, and I do agree, and I can be, extroverted at social
Yeah, I think
events.
we're both introvert extroverts.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all are as well, but I think one is dominant, more than the other. But Do you think the same thing goes for extroverted people? Like, do you think extroverts do you think they would be more energized being alone, or do you think they learn from being in the world of people and that's how they learn that way and grasping things that way?
So I think the term extrovert means that you gain energy from being around people.
Yes, yes.
Which introvert is when you lose energy from being around people. So obviously I think we both have like extroverts and introverts both have their limits, because we have to have a break. You can't just be constantly go always with people and stuff like that. Like, even if you're an extrovert, that would get tiring. Where do you get your rest? Where do you get your sleep? Where do you get your alone time? So I think even if you're an extrovert, you do need to have some alone time. And I think the reason I say that alone time is very, very important for growth is because alone is where you're going to be when no one can distract you and no one can manipulate your thoughts. So you have to be alone to find your awareness, to find your body's signals, because no one around you will know how your body's feeling. No one around you knows whether you're depressed, whether you're hungry, whether you're tired, whether you're dehydrated. Only your body will tell you. And if you're always going to have stimulus around you, how are you going to know the signals that your body is giving out? So when I say being alone, I don't mean have a month of no socializing, but finding at least like a day a week to just be alone, or your morning routine being alone, just so you have that space to breathe and connect with your body so you can find your own thoughts and awareness. As especially in a day where we're surrounded by social media, everywhere you go, if you don't turn your phone off, you don't turn your TV off, you don't have that alone time, how will you have your own thought process when you literally have all this stimulus telling you have to think a certain way, you have to look a certain way, you have to do this and that? I feel like being alone is the place where you can really grow your personality and who you are as a person.
I think, like you said, it does help with figuring out who you are and the self-awareness as well. And it really just sets a perfect foundation for when you do go out in the world and you know what thoughts are yours and what thoughts are others. It really filters out that kind of processing time. And like, I feel like you're not very persuaded or like manipulated by others and their actions as well. Like, you kind of just go on your own path, even if it's in the flow of someone else's. But you know that these values and these types of actions are yours because you just feel good by doing them. It just feels like a yes in your gut. Like, it's just this is my decision and my decision only, and no one else's. And I think that's a major benefit from being alone, even if you're an extroverted type. I think just a minimal, even if you need minimal amount of time to be alone, I think it's so good for you. And just not being on your phone and being out in nature and just connecting with yourself, like just really finding out who are you, like what makes you tick, what makes you not like this thing, or what makes you like this thing, or even questioning why do I like this, or I don't know. It's just there's just so many things that you can learn about yourself by asking simple questions, and it can lead to other thoughts and really bringing up. It's like a flower. Like you plant something, it grows, you keep watering it, and then it just turns into a beautiful flower that we all can be just from being alone.
I absolutely love that. I love that metaphor. Now I'm gonna go into my room later on and see my flowers and think of that. I love that. I don't know if you guys have listened to our podcast last week, but it was on taking action. So I'm just going to refer back to that one, as when I said about taking action, one thing that you have to make sure is that it's an internal will, meaning you want that will to change and it's not somebody else's will to change. That's exactly as we mentioned just before earlier on, is that it is important to just have that alone time to come up with your own processes and what is really your thoughts. So I thought that was actually quite of a coincidence that we kind of talked about it last week. And yeah, I thought I'd just add that back in again. But then I also wanted to do another point about finding that alone time, is that there is also a process that a lot of spiritual people do, which is going alone for a period of time and breaking themselves down completely to try to exactly pinpoint everything that their body is trying to tell them, everything that their mind is trying to tell them, everything that may not be working versus what needs to be fixed. And they really actually bring themselves down fully within that alone time to do such a really big spiritual growth. And then once they go back into society, they've had a complete different change. And I think there is a similar process as well with, I think Buddhists do it, especially with the 10 days of no speaking, or even a lot longer, obviously, if you're a monk. But there is processes where people go 10 days without speaking. And I think that that's exactly the same process of just trying to be in your alone moment to really process everything and bring so much awareness in the here and now, which brings out spiritual growth.
Not only does it bring spiritual growth, but it's more, I think, as well, it can bring a understanding with other people. You can understand people on a different level. You can become more in depth with the people that you're with. You can engage in conversations much more clearly. You have the clarity of mind now instilled in you, and I think it's all a cycle as well. It will go away and it will come back, but at least you found that foundation and you've recognized that foundation, and it will always set still in you, and you can bring it out anytime, any place. I think that's what's really important, is that once we have that alone time, even if it's 1 day, 2 days, we get that crutch of wow, this is like how good it feels. But to get there, it takes a lot of time, I think, because a lot of people don't know how to be alone.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing, as like we're so, like you said, we're so used to stimulants around us and stimuli, just engaging in our phones. But I think a lot of engagement can come from nature. I think you can learn a lot from just experiencing the outside world as well. You can be alone outside. You can be alone observing, people watching, bird watching, whatever. I think you can learn a lot from just experiencing the world by yourself for a little bit, and then you can process it with someone else in a deeper way. But yeah, I think being alone is easy once you know how to, but how does someone get to that point? And how do they get to the point of breaking down and realizing that they need to be alone? Because I feel like we always distract ourselves by wanting to be with other people and not be. I mean, I still find myself doing that at times as well.
And I think also when we bring in the phones, dating apps, having so many dating apps. You know, nowadays we don't only just have Tinder, we have Bumble, we have Hinge, we have, I don't know, there's so many out there. I can't keep track of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's another way to also escape, is that we have so many different apps. WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, Instagram. It's just we're constantly around people.
We're escape artists.
Yeah, and actually, one thing that I've noticed, I'm really bad at replying to messages, and that's because I am an introvert. So when I'm not out socializing, I'm at home and I want to recharge, and I find it really hard to then have to look at the phone and realize that there's people messaging and expecting responses, which is taking into your social energy. And people don't realize that now, is that we literally expect people to respond to us 24/7, and having exactly so many stimuli, so many you just, being alone nowadays is just so difficult, and it's not common.
It's a boundary, I think, that this is a new experience, a whole social media thing. I mean, we all had MySpace and Tumblr, if you guys know what that is, a long time ago, but we didn't really talk to people. it wasn't so easy to access people. And now that it's so easy to access people, we get offended when we're ignoring someone's messages or someone's ignoring our messages. But even this week, I've learned that people are just, I mean, I learn this all the time, but it's a constant reminder. Like, and that's good, because you need cycles to always come back to you. And, like, it's really important that we remember things as they come into time. Even if you've learned it a million times, you can learn it differently, interpret it in a different way a million more times. And I think that's fascinating.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we just have to realize when we are alone that to have these, like, instant accesses, we need to put boundaries for ourselves, because this is such a new way of availability and having our phones constantly on us. I think people in their minds think that, oh, well, they have their phone on them all the time, so why aren't they answering? But it's like everyone has different times that they want to answer. They just really need to be recharged. And I think it's really important to establish that in your relationships with people. I feel like we totally understand that, and I mean, most of my friends understand that, and I think it's really good that you find people that have the same values as you when it comes to, like, your alone time and being introverted, extroverted, whatever. I think that's really, really important. But what I was going to say is how do people know how to be alone? Like, how...
It's really hard, and even I have to think about how I did it, because for sure when I was young, I really needed validation from people, especially stemming from, you know, growing up not getting validation from the people close to me, not getting that support, and you have to find that support somehow. And as a child, you know, you get really dependent on trying to get it from other people. So always had to be like, oh, I want to make friends with everyone, I want to be liked by everyone, and all of that. So I became quite extroverted, and I think the more I fell in love with myself and the more that I found self-love, the more I want to be alone, and the more I become antisocial in a way. Not fully antisocial, because I like to think that I still go out and love having friends and stuff like that, but I find my alone time not scary anymore, and I find it very therapeutic.
Yeah.
And I think the only way that you can really get there is to have that alone time and really process what is going on in your life. Why are you afraid of being alone? What scares you? What makes you feel uncomfortable about being alone with yourself? And try to give yourself that love that your body and your mind is wanting, because genuinely, if you're scared of being alone, it's because your body needs a hug, you know, yourself needs a hug, and I think you need to give yourself that hug. You need to maybe ease into it by giving yourself self-care. So have a bath with meditation and candles. Make being alone look so good.
I was going to say, if you find things that you love, great. I think that would really help being alone, and things that are personal to you. Like, for me, I think it's writing, poetry, reading. That's very romanticized to me, and I romanticize it in a way where it's like something I really look forward to, and it's like really dreamy. It's like my own world state of mind. Like, I enter into a space of just complete bliss.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need to find, because if we find it as a drag, it's awful. But if we
so maybe like a hobby, like find themselves a hobby.
Like something that really just brings you into like the present moment, I guess. Like something that you don't even realize time is going by. And if you don't know what these things are, then I always like to look at yourself or just your whatever you want to do as an experiment. Like, think of yourself as like a scientist or something, and just figure out what makes you tick. Like, it's like we do this with people. We want to know so much about them. We try to find these little things that like turn them on, or just like what they love about something. We want to find out so much about them. So what if we ask those questions that we ask other people and put it on ourselves? I think that will help.
That.
Yeah, I think that would really help find out what makes us tick. It's like we're just putting it back on us.
Yeah, and I think another advice also, which is what I love to do when I go traveling, or even here when COVID hit and I couldn't travel anymore, is I love to try to think of every day I'm a tourist in where I live, and every day I don't know anything about the world.
Yes.
And I try to have days out with myself, and I try to, go somewhere without a map, or go on an adventure, go to the museum, go to this and that, and do it alone. Pretend you're a tourist. And I think that way it's a lot less scary, because there are stimuli around still. You have the chance to go meet other people at the same time.
It's not like you have to like stay in a dark room and figure out all the secrets about the world and yourself.
It can be literally so fun, and just going on a date with yourself. How fun is that?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, just I even get like so excited to think about, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to like treat myself to like a really nice day out in the sun, eating, and then reading a book or writing, going to the park and writing, and just, I don't know, just being still with yourself is just such a beautiful experience. You learn so much. You allow yourself to breathe. Like, there's nothing distracting you. It's just like, but I think that's like a certain point that you have to, because I feel like when you start to be alone, you find it that's very boring. But once you get to that point, it's like total
bliss.
Beautiful word that I've learned, and it's called metanoia, and I think it's a Greek word, and it's a way of changing how you look at things. And also, my favorite quote as well is, I don't know who it's by, but this quote has stuck with me for life, and it's if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start to change. So just let that seep in, and I
love that quote.
It's a really good quote. It's one of my I think that quote holds such a profound experience in my life. It literally shifts everything. Like, if I'm having a tough time or whatever, it's just there. It's like a stepping stone of guidance.
Yeah. And when it comes to being alone, I think we found so much peace in that, that it brings us so much joy that we've ended up saying this quote where we want to be with someone who we can be alone with.
Yes.
And there's a big difference between that and being lonely with someone. So we want to be alone with someone is because, although we love our alone time, we want to share that time, the things that make us happy, the things that we think are precious in life, and we want to share that with someone. And it's so magical to think, oh my God, like, let's travel the world, or let's hide at the secret beach with someone that you can just sit by and talk to about literally everything, and avoid the government, avoid everyone. Like, that's what I think when I'm I want to be alone with someone.
Yes.
But then there's a big difference between that and feeling lonely with someone, which, oh my God.
Big difference, like emotionally and mentally.
Big difference. And although I'm seeking the one that I was saying before, I somehow always end up with the opposite, which being feeling lonely with someone. And that's when you know that you're in a toxic, abusive relationship, is when you are with people, and it doesn't actually have to be a romantic relationship. It can be with your friends, because I've had that with my friends as well, where you're either in a group of friends or you're with your partner, and you feel so lonely, and you feel like no one's seeing you, no one's hearing you, and no one understands you, and you're just so alone. And I think there is a really big difference between the two, and it's something that we need to talk about, because a lot of people will feel this way.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure we all feel this way.
Yeah, and I think sometimes also we like to say that, oh, it's a depression. Like, let's say you have depression. Oh, it's my depression and that's why I feel this way. But sometimes it's not. Maybe it's just your body telling you this person is just not it.
Yeah.
Or this group of people is just not it.
It's just not, it's a guidance to what is for you and what isn't. It's just a stone to step you into the right direction of the people that you're supposed to be with or not supposed to be with. I think that's how I look at it, at least. Like, it's a good guidance tool. It's a good tool to see that.
Yeah, so there is such a big difference being alone, which being alone brings so much spiritual growth and so much enlightenment into your life. But being lonely is just not a good feeling. And I think, would you have any advice for people that feel lonely and how to overcome that loneliness? Because sometimes people feel lonely even in their alone time.
I would question what is it that makes us feel lonely? What are the conversations that you're having that make you feel lonely? And then if those are the conversations, what conversation would you rather have? It's like, if you're in that kind of circumstance with someone or something, whether it be romantic or friendship-wise, I think it's like, okay, but you don't want this. It's great. You know what you don't want. So what would you rather have? And I think that will kind of lead you into a more clear state of mind into what you actually want to have. And that will lead you into better relationships. So I think it's just it's a good guide.
Yeah. And I think let's talk about it in a relationship way and not a being alone way. I think also really looking at it and being like, is feeling this way worth having these people in my life?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we are so scared of being alone.
Yeah.
And we feel so lonely that sometimes, even though you feel lonely in a group or with that person, it seems better than being alone. But
I have so many examples of this. Guam. So many people love you, Guam, but
yeah, exactly. So sometimes you really have to think, is it worth having them in my life? Like, what is this group of friends bringing into your life if the result is loneliness?
That also, I think that actually stems from either self-worth or maybe low self-esteem, because you don't know ourselves enough to know what we are worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. So there is a quote by Matthew Hussey, I think is how you pronounce his name. He is my favorite relationship coach. And one thing he said about relationships, which it stuck with me forever, is if the pain of the breakup didn't exist, would you be with this person? So if you weren't scared of the aftermath of ending that relationship, would you still be with that person? And if the answer is, well, obviously no, then there's a big reason that you need to just cut things off. And I think we can bring that once again in a group of friends or in a relationship. How whatever situation you're in, you should bring that in. If you feel lonely with that group of friends or with that person, if the aftermath, the hurt that's going to happen won't exist, would you still be around those people? And if the answer is no, then time to be alone. Time to find that happiness in your alone time.
Yeah. So taking from what I observed in the past years, I think people kind of grasp onto anything that they want to just have someone there. But I think they use it as a support system, as in they just need someone to feel like... I feel like it's almost a shadow of... it's a shadow of someone's mind listening to them. I don't know if that makes sense. But, like, the way I'm visualizing it is, like, they just want someone there visually, but they actually just want someone to recognize and affirm that they are being listened to. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question actually that which remind me of is, for example, if somebody's going through a lot of hardship and they cling on to somebody who may not be their type or not be somebody that is very good for them, and they know that, but they attach themselves to that person for the here and now, and just because they need support and they need just somebody to give them a hug because they're going through a hard time in life.
Yeah.
Would you say that that is something they should avoid doing, or something that is okay? Because in some instances, I have thought that maybe, you know, if you do need that, is it actually that bad to go? And
I think it's all about the intention. So I feel like if you're just actually using that person, then it's not fair for them. It's not fair for the other person, and it's not fair for you because you're both not getting mutual satisfaction. But I'm not really sure. I guess it really depends on someone's situation, because it's really all different. And I know we've all have been there, and we all just really need the support. But I think it's better to go and say to someone that you trust, like, I need this support. And if you don't have that, to really build that system within yourself and find that, like, find a different way of doing that. Because I think it's like a territory of using someone, which is not very morally justified. But at the same time, if you're both getting mutual satisfaction from it, that's okay. But I just, it's a tricky one, because you know, like, you don't like this person, but they're still there, so it's kind of just I just feel like if I picture it in my head, I just see like pillow, or like it's just like it's just something that's there. Like, it's not like a human being with like a heart and a soul. It's like, I don't know. That's just how I'm picturing it. I could be totally wrong, but that's just how I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Honestly, on that one, I'll probably never know, because I feel like if it's something you really, really need, maybe.
And
But
nothing's wrong with that, by the way.
Yeah, but I think you just have to be aware that it may turn messy.
Yeah.
Especially if feelings get involved or anything like that. Often it can get messy. So sometimes just, I really don't want to say this, but I'm going to say this.
No, don't.
Sometimes just doing it on your own is so much better. But you still need to build a support network.
Yeah, I think support system is
which once again we mentioned in the other podcast, is that you know, humans are built to be in a community, and we love to have a community, and that's how you're going to overcome a lot of things, is through having that support network. So you do need to try to find yourself a support network, but find one that responds to you the way that you need. So if people are not responding to you the way that you need, I think it's time to distance yourself a little bit. Find that aloneness, that the good aloneness. And try to pinpoint who can give that to you in a healthy way, and in a way that's not going to get messy. And sometimes it can be family, if you have some family. It can be, well, for me it was with you, even though you were overseas, and sometimes we don't chat for a little bit. Like, it could just be literally anyone, I think.
Yeah, I think it really depends. Like, it really depends on who you trust. And if you think to yourself you don't trust anyone, then I think that's a belief system that you have to break down. So there's just...
I was going to say, if you don't trust anyone, that usually comes from trauma. And it's something that you need to fix. Well, not fix, but you need to face. Because not trusting anyone is a way of hurting yourself. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. My laptop will survive an hour.
Okay.
Because not trusting anyone is a way of hurting and punishing yourself, because this world is full of really great people who genuinely want to help you. And even if that person that you trust is just your therapist.
And it's very constricting to yourself, or ourselves as well, if we don't trust anyone. It's like, how will you ever build a solid relationship with anyone if you don't let anyone in. And I think that's where we feel the loneliness. We just...
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, that makes me so happy, actually. Because I was thinking, how can we really help ourselves if we are stuck in that feeling of being lonely even when we are alone, right? And I think especially that, what you just said, was a really, really good example. And I love that example just because when you are feeling lonely in your alone time, thank you, you, a lot of times it can stem from just exactly not feeling that you can trust anyone. And so I love that point. And I think a lot of times our loneliness feeling stems from literally us and what we're doing to ourselves. Because, oh my God, there's so many traumas and so many things that can happen to you that will make you not trust people. And trust me, it's really hard to trust people in this world. There's so many things going on wrong in this world sometimes, but as long as we remember exactly the mindset, as you mentioned earlier in this podcast, is if you change your mindset of, you know what, there are some bad people on this earth, but there are also good people on this earth. And if, you know, let's find that those good people. Let's give that energy to the good people. Let's keep giving out love.
Yeah. So I think a really important thing to notice is we always say after people break our trust is like, oh, I'm never going to trust anyone again. But it's just like, no, this person just, they have their own thing going on. They have their own life. They have their own life path that they're going on. It's not that you shouldn't trust people. It's just, I don't think we should ever limit ourselves to giving, like, this person's worthy of this trust and this person is worthy of this trust. It's, love is, it comes in so many different forms, and I think that's a form of, no matter who it is, no matter, like, where you are, I think you should give that person that trust, because what is the worst thing that can happen? Yes, you will get hurt, but will you die? Will your heart fail because of this? No, you will have the greatest lessons. You'll learn from it, and it will show you it's like a shortcut into your life if people mistrust, because that person is not supposed to be in your life. It's, you're giving that piece out and they're taking it, whatever they do with it, that's on them. But I think if they break it, that's great, because it leads you into another opportunity for someone else, and you just cut it like that. I think it's a good shortcut.
Yeah. So I think definitely a way to overcome loneliness is giving love to everyone. Giving love and compassion to everyone, no matter whether or not you get it back.
Yeah.
Well, on my cycle to the beach every day, I always say good morning to everybody that passes by. Most of them, 90% of them, don't even smile. They look very unhappy and they don't even say good morning back. But I keep on doing it.
This is so interesting because I see complete opposite.
Really?
I was just saying this to Adrian the other day. I'm like, people here are so friendly. So it's literally all how you look at things, I think.
No, because I definitely didn't say her back. Like, nah.
Okay. Anyway, go on.
I'm pretty sure. Am I that blind that I can't see somebody do like, hi?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't hear you.
Yeah. So sometimes, and despite the fact that I don't have them saying hi back, I will still say good morning to the next person. And I think that's how you should treat anyone. Yeah. And especially if you feel lonely, a lot of chances maybe you think you have no one around you, or if you do have people around you, it's obviously not the right people if you feel lonely. So that's why I say also take yourself out on a date, because if you take yourself out on a date, you will meet new people. And meeting new people constantly makes you realize wow, there's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah.
There's people that actually like me. There are people that are like me. And if you just exactly resonate so much positive, loving, compassionate energy, you tend to get that back, and you tend to attract a lot of that into your life.
Yeah. It really all depends on just like what you're looking for. If you're looking to not trust people, you're not going to trust people. But if you want to trust people no matter what, then it doesn't matter what barriers will break you down, as long as your mind is strong enough to outdo that thought process. There's a really good quote that the Buddha said, and this is coming from Thich Nhat Hanh. It's my favorite Zen master, if you guys want to check him out. But anyway, he states in his Plum Village is, the Buddha said very clearly that the home is in us, and that there is an island that you have to go back to, the island of the self. This is a practice, not a theory. And I feel like that's very resonating, because it is an island. Your mind is literally an infinite island that you have to just pick and weed out and garden.
I love all your metaphors today.
Thank you.
They've been very nature related. I love it.
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
why I stare at plants.
Yeah.
I swear to God, nature literally teaches you everything.
Oh, nature definitely does, but that has to be on a different podcast, because we would
I know.
talk about that for hours. So maybe we should, we'll note that down for another day for sure, because
I think we.
Yeah, so I think we should probably end it there, because we don't want to information overload.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think the moral of this podcast really is, you need to find that comfort of being alone, because once you become alone, you have all of that space to find yourself, your personality, become aware of how your body's feeling, how your mind is feeling, what you need, not only to become a better person for yourself, but also for other people.
I think, personally, I do it for other people. So, you connect so much deeper with life when you do this.
And if you find so much comfort in being alone, suddenly it becomes such a happy and safe place. And I think when it comes to finding happiness and finding the key to enlightenment in life is to find peace.
Yes.
With being alone.
Yes.
The moment you find peace with being alone, you know that you've reached a state of enlightenment for sure.
Yeah, I agree completely. Wow.
Yeah, so I think we'll leave you with that. I want to thank you so much for listening to another podcast of us. Please share it with everyone if you enjoyed it.
Subscribe.
Follow the podcast, and we will see you next time. See ya!